Hi, Rusty with Springfield Leather here. We sit down here, we decided that maybe we should take a little time and discuss some acrylic paints, the abilities that you have with acrylic paints. I wouldn't expect a tremendous amount from this, but the idea behind it is to allow you to know that it's okay. You're not going to screw it up. I like to tell people that leather work is like one big science project. Everything's an experiment. If you're not 100% sure the first time you try it, take a sample piece, try it out, figure it out how you want to do it, and then go from there. The idea behind it is trial and error. You'll learn more and remember better if you've screwed it up a few times. So we're just going to play around a little bit. One suggestion: rubber gloves. Unless you want to look like you've been painting your fingernails, or finger painting somewhere, I would suggest going to Walmart or somewhere and buying a cheap set of rubber gloves that make that fun sound and that you can't get on half the time. All right. The other thing is some sort of a plastic container. You know what works good, really? I just didn't have one here at the store. Is a sour cream container, some sort of a little French dip container. Works good if you're going to mix a large amount of something up into it. Allows you to save it, store it, keep it, have it to where you can use it later on in life. Let's see. Let's find a piece of leather and let's just start mixing up some colors here and playing around a little bit. The Angelus paint, the Phoebings, they're all water-based. They're acrylic finishes. You can cut them with water. You can reduce them down. You can mix them together. Again, you're really not going to screw it up. The only reason that it would be wrong is if you didn't like the way that it turned out. They do have an applicator on the top of them, so what you can do is you can do just a couple of small sample colors and mix it together. We're going to use a light brown and a champagne just to lighten the brown just a little bit. Now, you don't want the color back in there, so what you may have to do is just kind of use your finger. Once you mix them together, you're going to end up with a color that'll be somewhat lighter than what you started with. I'll show you how much it lightened it up. I don't know if you can see that or not, but those are the colors that you started with, and this is where we ended up. The other thing about acrylic is it's kind of like fingernail polish. If you, especially for you ladies, when you paint your fingernails, that acrylic builds up, and so it'll lay on there kind of thick, especially in spots where you haven't cut it down, thinned it down, or even just rubbed it down just a little bit. You can always add more color to something. It is considerably more difficult to get the color to go away or to hide the color. So once you get a color and you test it out on a sample piece and you look at it and you say, you know what, I want it to be just a little bit lighter. Put it together, you figure out that you can make it. Now, the only downside to this is all you've done is determined that these two colors are going to give you the color you want. What you now have to do is a little bit more challenging. You've got to figure out what your ratios are. I'm not going to tell you. All I'm going to tell you is that keep track of it. Maybe on the other side you write down what you've done, a dab of this, a drop of that, whatever you have to do to get to the color that you want. Again, it's an experiment. Now the good thing about the acrylic paint too is before you've applied it to a vegetable tanned leather like this, if you apply it to the top of a chrome tanned leather or a leather that has a finish on it, a smooth finish, once you apply that to it, if you'll catch it while it's wet, you can take a little bit of water, wet it down, and it disappears. Just wipe it off. So the bonus of that is a couple of things. One, I'm sure that you've heard Kevin or myself talk about the ability in the past to take and tone leathers. You can take a black over this red and thin the black down, rub it into this grain that you have on it, and give it a little bit of a black tinge, a little bit of an antiquing on it. If you don't like it, take a wet rag and wipe it back off. Pick up the excess. Cut it down. Again, you're probably not going to screw it up with the acrylic paint because the acrylic paint's going to adhere very well even to a finished leather. I would suggest though that you cut it down, build your color back up. Most of your leathers that are chrome tan have an acrylic finish on them. That's fine. Build your color up on top of it. Don't start out with a big color and try and come down from that point. Some people that set the video up even think it's funny if we have to use some hot pink. So let's play around with it just a little bit too, and then we'll show them. We've got these neon colors, and they're a lot of fun. Even the neon colors will mix with the standard Angelus colors, and you end up with a color that's considerably lighter than what you started with. Again, you're not going to screw it up. If you don't like the color, cut it down with some water, start over again, wipe it off. There's no wrong in the acrylic paint world. Angelus has a very nice line of colors. Phoebing's have a good product. Their color line is a little bit smaller, I believe. The bottles are a little bit larger. The density of the two colors will be a little bit different in them too, meaning one of them is cut more and thinner. You can airbrush any one of these. You can airbrush any of them, but what you're going to find out is that this is a little bit more dense, and so you would want to cut it down. Your color consistency in here is going to be a little bit thicker. Cut it down with some water, airbrush it, spray, cut gun, whatever you want to do. Build your color up. No matter what you do, build your color up. You can tool something, paint some parts of it, dye other parts of it, put a finish over all of it. What you want to be careful of is that anytime you add an alcohol over top of an acrylic, you take a chance of activating the acrylic and creating a sticky mess. So I would probably dye it first, then go through and paint it, put a finish over all of it. You can also dye it, put a finish on, put a little bit of paint on, and then put another finish over top of it. But you do not have to finish acrylic paint because it is acrylic, it'll seal. See ya.